Hey guys, just a quick tutorial about how I pinstripe the outline of these flames. I'm going to be doing a slash stripe, which is a technique where you accentuate the existing shape of the flames. I'm going to be using one shot today. I'm going to talk about the brush I'm using, how to palette the brush, what thinners to use to avoid fry-ups, because if that happens, it's a real pain in the butt to fix. I'm also going to be showing you guys how I store my paints to avoid the one-shot drying out, because that tends to happen quite a bit, and just how I kind of set up my area so I can avoid smudges and putting my hand in the paint and just any little mistakes that come along the way. So if you like the video, leave a thumbs up and leave a comment down below, and I can't wait to hear from you guys. Let's do this. So what you guys are looking at here is the MAC double aught pinstriping brush. It's the blue ferrule brush. I would be pretty confident in saying this is the go-to brush for most pinstriping artists. As you can tell, it's got a flat side there and it's got a rounded side. It's a very short brush which you can pull into the palm of your hand and get a very firm grip on. You'll use the rounded side of the brush to do the curve, maybe of a flame, or just to do a nice slick design on someone's tank or someone's bike or whatever it might be. Now, out of the box, these brushes actually come with a compound, and this particular brush is not cut. You have to cut it to get a really nice turning brush, and that's something you'll have to spend a bit of time on. On the other hand there, you've got the Excalibur brush, which when you purchase it, it's pre-cut. You take it out, you wash out the compound that's in the hair of the brush, and you're good to go. It's a great brush. I kind of find it's better to get the MAC brush to start with, because it teaches you the fundamentals of pinstriping, and it'll help you to pick up how to, use the brush and how to turn it. And then you can maybe move to the Excalibur once you've got a bit of practice in. The last brush I want to talk about, which is one you'll probably come across once you become accustomed to pinstriping a bit more, is the Kafka brush. So it looks a lot different to the other two brushes. It's a rounded handle, and as you can see on the screen there, it's a lot different. It's actually very similar to a scrolling brush, and the designs that you will do with this will be more scroll based. You can actually do your sort of typical dagger lined designs, and check out Steve Kafka on YouTube. He's awesome. I've got all his DVDs and I absolutely love these brushes too. You can do some really sweet, slick looking work with them. I'll leave a link below for Steve Kafka's pinstriping kit, which is a great starting point. Now, when you first start out pinstriping, you probably will want to start with one shot. It's been around forever. It's an enamel-based paint. It's super easy to work with when you first start out. There are other varieties of paints out there. You've got House of Color, Ronin, Custom Shop, and a lot of those are urethanes, which you'll generally put under a clear. You can also use one shot under a clear, but I love one shot. It's something I've been using for 5-6 years now. I love the way it feels, and I even love the way this stuff smells. So yeah, if you're starting out, definitely start with one shot. I wanted to show you guys a small tip that helped me prolong the life of the one shot paint, and it's to use these little solvent proof bottles. I'd always find that every time I wanted to use the one shot, I'd have a bit of a skin on the top of the paint, and I'd have to dig through that to get to the paint underneath, and I'd end up wasting a fair bit of paint. These guys are super cheap. They've got a fantastic screw lid, and they even have a little airtight cap that you can see there. And if you're worried about traveling, they create an airtight seal. So just another little tip that'll help you guys along the way. And of course, you might like to check out the One Shot website, where you can see their full range of colors and all the other awesome stuff they stock. Now, when you set up your workspace, either for airbrushing or pinstriping, you really want to spend an extra few minutes just to make sure whatever you're painting is as clean as possible. As you can see here, I'm wiping down the whole piece with a tack rag and some fresh air, just to make sure there's no residue or maybe some small bits of tape left over. that's going to give you some major headaches later on when you go to clear coat the piece. Now once I'm satisfied that everything is free of residue and it's nice and clean, I like to organise a small space just away, a few metres away from where I'm working. In this particular case, you can see I've got a glossy magazine there taped to the table. I've got two small cups, one with thinners and one with brush cleaner once I finish doing the outline of the flames. I like to sort of shape the brush before I start pinstriping, make sure there's no stray hairs, just spend a little bit of time making sure the brush is, you know, flowing well. This particular brush, as you can tell, it's quite old. It's probably time to be replaced. It's got a bit of dry paint at the end of it, but I really like this brush. I've had it for a few years, and it's something I'll probably keep until it falls apart. So just goes to show you that the Mac brushes are extremely well made, and they only use the finest hair, and yeah, like they will literally last you years if you look after them well. Now off camera I put down a nice soft pillow to put the fender on to avoid damaging the airbrushing work I'd done on the other side. Generally when I outline flames, I tend to start from the center of the curve and roll the brush inwards, as that's what feels the most natural to me. Every artist and every pinstriper has their own way of doing this sort of work, and it sort of just comes down to muscle memory and everyone's personal preference. Now typically I wouldn't pinstripe the outline of a flame prior to actually clearing it and flat rubbing the clear, and that knocks down the edge of the flames so that you can get a really nice flat area to do the pinstriping on. And if you have a look here, you'll probably even see there's a bit of a built-up edge from all the airbrushing, and just over here there's a tiny spot where I accidentally demasked a bit of the artwork by pulling up the tape a little bit too quick. So the pinstriping will hide all that and accentuate the overall design at the same time. Probably one of the most difficult things about pinstriping is palleting the brush and knowing when you've got enough paint in the brush, and when the actual, what's called the belly of the brush is full of paint, and enough paint to actually drag a really nice long line, in this particular case along the edge of the flame. It will take practice. It took me maybe a couple of months to get the hang of it, and using the right amount of thinners, you don't need very much. Basically you just sort of dab the brush in and palette it through the brush at the same time as the paint, and it will take time. You will mess it up, you'll have your paint too thin, you'll have it too thick, but again with a bit of practice you'll get it right. Now I actually made a bit of a mistake here. The brush sort of lost control, but I just wanted to show you, just by getting a nice clean rag and putting it over your finger and pushing that paint back into itself, you can clean it up and you can come back and find maybe a better spot or a better angle to get at the curve or whatever it is you're pinstriping, and then nice and steady just roll the brush using a hand over hand method here, and yeah, you'll be able to, you know, fix up tiny little mistakes like that. Now I apologise for getting my big head in the way here, but I just wanted to show you more of a top-down perspective of how the flames look. This is actually going around them maybe twice or three times just to thicken up the edge so it's consistent the whole way around. I'm using the hand over hand method here again. I wasn't totally happy that it was consistent right through the curve, so just going back, tidying things up, making sure it's consistent the whole way around, and then just giving that slash stripe. Generally I do this a little bit more aggressive, but just for the purpose of this video I did it nice and slow to show you guys how that looks. Okay guys, now that we've done the pinstriping, it's time to move into the booth and get some clear coat on this guard. As you can see, my good friend Trev has just put the guard on a stand. We've also just put some prep sol, some water-based prep sol over the whole piece. You want to make sure you're using the water-based stuff so you don't wreck any of the pinstriping or the artwork. And then we're just putting in a couple of coats of what's called 222S. Basically, it's an adhesion promoter, and it helps with the artwork and it helps with coverage as well. Okay, and then basically what you can see is Trev's putting down a very wide fan pattern of clear, just doing very sort of medium, not really heavy coats. You can see he's quite a distance back, and basically what you want to do is you want to put a coat of clear down. You want to go through the manual for this particular paint, so I think from memory the flash time was about 10 minutes. Obviously because we're doing video I can cut all of that time out, and you can see there, you can tell when you put your finger down on the clear, if it strings up like that, it's getting very close to getting the next coat down. So you can see me just getting out of the way there. Trev's coming back down again, just again a nice wide fan pattern, doing the edges. Trev also mentioned to me when he does guards and that sort of thing, he tends to not go too heavy on the edges because obviously you don't want to get a run. In the clear it is quite hard to fix if you do that. And yeah, we're just sort of coming in, getting some nice good even coats on it. You can see here there is quite a lot of product coming out of the gun, and Trev's the master of clear. He does a really awesome job, and generally speaking he'll get it just about perfect off the gun. Every now and again we might need to come back with the buff, and with this one, because it's got the pinstripe, it will give it a bit of an edge. So if you want to get that sort of showroom finish, you really have to come in and just knock it down, maybe with some 1500 or 2000, and then run the buff over it to get it really, really perfect. Okay, so we've taken the guard out of the booth now. Trev's got the 1500 on the sanding block, and we're just looking across the whole guard just for spots that need to be denibbed. So basically, you can, when you run your hand over the surface of the guard, you'll be able to feel the little tiny spots that need to be denibbed. Typically you don't have to do the whole guard unless you want to put a couple of extra coats of clear, but all you have to do, if you just watch what Trev's doing there, he's just finding little spots. He wipes off where he's just sanded, and then you run your finger over the surface, and you can tell when it's had enough sanding, because you don't want to go too hard. If you go too hard, you will go through the pinstripes. Now we're going in with the buff, just sort of giving it a quick cut, and you can tell it's sort of flattened off. The surface looks a bit sort of dull and doesn't look as shiny as what it did before. And now we're coming in with the mini polisher. This is such a great tool, especially for doing small objects like guards and helmets and things that you can't sort of do by yourself. It is a really, really handy tool, and they're quite cheap. I'll leave a link below if you're interested in getting one. And I try to use these whenever I don't have someone around to give me a hand to do this sort of work. And that's it, guys. Obviously a lot of work has gone into the video and doing this guard, and I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers guys, thanks.